Yo, 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 guitar lesson here today for you guys. We got chord substitutions. What is a chord substitution? When do you use them? How do you use them? Why would you use them? A lot of questions. It took me a while to even understand what the hell anybody was talking about when they were talking about chord substitutions. The main reason is the first thing you need to do is understand what you're going to be substituting for. So it's good to understand your harmony, your harmonic structure. So in the key of C, we've got these chords that show up. The one chord's going to be C major, two chords D minor, three chords E minor, four chords F major, five chords G major, six chords is A minor, seven chords is B diminished chord, and then back to C, aka 1. So that's just how the chords show up in the key, and this is information you should know for this lesson anyway. If you don't, then check out some other lessons on that. So the big takeaway here is, if we're in the key of C, we start on the 1. Let's do a 1 4 5. We go to the 4. Just create some harmonic movement. Now when we go to the 5 chord, it's creating some tension here. And it wants to go back to the 1, okay? And this is just a thing that happens in music that musicians are aware of. Anybody that studies music, you really kind of hone in on the fact that the 5, especially if you're writing music, the 5 is a way to get back home. So if you start on C and you want to move around the key, C is always going to bring you, or G is always going to bring you back home to C. In other words, the 5 chord is always going to bring you back home to the 1 chord. And the reason is, this is really important, the reason is it contains this note here, the 7th note of the scale. Because the 7th note of the scale wants to resolve on the last note of the scale. That 7th note being a B, which is the 3rd of a G major chord. So I'm just kind of laying the foundation here, just setting the table for you so that you can understand chord substitutions. This is one of the reasons why we would have a chord substitution. So just knowing that information, that the 7th note, the major 7th note of the scale, is a very strong, powerful note. It really creates this need and want to resolve to the root of the key. So now let's take a look at the relative minor. So let's take a look at A minor. So we're in A minor, and we'll do a 1 4 5 in A minor. So if we got 1 A minor to 4 D minor, 1 to A minor, 4. Now we're going to go to that 5 chord. The 5 chord's E minor, back to 1. So now if we just played the chords that are in A minor, which happen to be the same chords as C minor, I'll show you the graphic that's going to kind of help you check that out. In A minor, the A minor is 1, D minor is 4, E minor is 5. Now here's the thing. The 5 chord in E minor, well, first of all, A minor doesn't have a major 7 in it, like the C major scale does. If we put it there, you can hear that? It sounds pretty cool. And it gives us that pull back to the home base, back to 1. So since it's not there, what we do is we substitute. We add it. And where do we add it? We add it on the 5 chord. The 5 chord is minor. So instead of a minor 5 chord, we make it a major 5 chord. Okay, so common substitution is going to be, I'll just go to the 5 here, make it major. There's that raised 7 now. It wants to go back home. So in this instance, the chord substitution would be an E major for an E minor. And there's only one note different. The only note you're changing is that G, which is the 3 of the E. You're making it a G sharp, which gives you that pull towards the 1. Now, a lot of times, too, people turn that into a E dominant 7, because naturally that's an E minor 7 anyway. So if you raise the 3 to make it a major 3rd and keep the flat 7, you just get a dominant 7. And if you make all these minor 7th chords, that works as well. A minor 7 to D minor 7. And then you got this E dominant. Which is super cool. And that is the essence of chord substitution. In general, I haven't studied a whole lot, but in general, there is a specific feeling that's missing in the regular chord. So musicians are adding, basically, usually you're only changing one note, sometimes 2 notes of the chord to get a different kind of feeling, the feeling you're going for. And it's a great way to just explore music in general, music harmony, get kind of out of the box, one might say. And then the other thing to take a look at, which is really cool, and how this shows up in the major key is you take that same E minor chord and make it an E dominant 7. So check this out. If I go 3, 1, 4, here's 3 to 1. 4, go back to 1. That's the regular sound. Now if I do that chord substitution like we did in the A minor, since we know it works in A minor, and A minor and C are relatives, let's just see what happens when we do it in the key of C. And it really works if I'm going to that A minor chord, right? Go. You've heard that sound, I'm sure. So anyway, just kind of getting into the nitty-gritty here with the theory. Chord substitution, you really got to understand the scale degrees. You got to understand the scales, the notes in the scales, the chords. So if you're finding it frustrating, chord substitutions, there's a good chance you probably haven't taken the time to learn the chords, the keys. And if you have, then just take a look at what's going on. Just say, okay, they're changing this note, they're changing that note. It's kind of like having a recipe for maybe chili or something, and you've always made it a certain way, and then someone changes it just a little bit. It's still chili, and it still tastes amazing. It's just a little different flavor because you've added some different spices, etc. So that's kind of a way to look at chord substitution. It's taking the standard recipe and you're just pulling something out and adding something else in to get a desired kind of flavor, a desired emotion out of the music. So if you guys have any questions about chord substitutions, hit me up with that. Again, it's kind of heady stuff, but I really enjoy this kind of thing and I enjoy breaking it down. Peace.